Okay, this is Business 342, page 80, problem number 7. And they're just throwing you another little wrinkle in this problem, but we'll go over it. The portfolio has an expected return of 12.3%. So that's the expected return for the portfolio. This portfolio contains 2 stocks and 1 risk-free security. The expected return on stock X is 9.7 and on stock Y is 17.7. The risk-free rate is 3.8%. The portfolio value is $78,000, of which $18,000 is the risk-free security. How much is invested in stock X? Okay, so remember the formula. The expected return of the portfolio equals the weighted average of the expected return of stock A, weighted average of A, times the expected return of A, plus the weighted return of B times the expected return of B, plus the weight of stock C times the expected return of stock C. And what is the weight made up of? Remember, it's the total amount that you have is the bottom, the denominator, and then the amount that you're going to have in that stock is the numerator. So instead of having the formula like this, I put it like this just to combine these things. For instance, what's the weighted average of the risk-free security? Well, they tell you that's 18,000 out of the 78,000. So instead of putting just a decimal right here or just an X right here, let's put 18 over 78,000, which is going to give us a decimal. And again, I've got everything for the returns as numbers. So if you're going to keep these as a percent, then have this as a percent, that as a percent, that as a percent, that, excuse me, as decimals. Keep this as a percent this way, you keep them all as a percent. If you're going to have them as decimals, have this as 0.123, 0.097, 0.177, 0.038. It'll come out the same either way, but just make sure you're consistent on how you handle these. And again, so this is the expected returns portion of it, and these are the weighted averages. Okay, so we know one weighted average we could have done as a decimal, but we just do this so everything's over 78,000. That makes it work out better. Okay, so we want to know for stock X how much is going to invest in stock X. So the weighted average of well, A, we could have put an X here. Weighted average of A over the expected return of A. So we'll make this stock X. So X, we don't know how much it is. X over 78,000, we know that's the denominator, right, to get the weighted average. And we know this is the expected return. Okay, and then we know this one over here for the risk-free one is 18,000 over 78,000 gives you the weighted average. And then the expected return is 3.8. So if this is X and this is 18,000, we know that 1 minus X gives you, or X times 1 minus X gives you, you know, the, when you've got 2 of them, will give you the weighted average. But in this case, we've got 3 of them. So one of them is X, this one is, one of them's 18,000, this one is, and you can't do 1 because it's really, 1 in this case is 78,000 over 78,000. So 78,000 minus X minus 18,000 will give you this numerator right here. Right? So that makes sense because this one's X, this one's 18,000, so you know that this has got to be, and this is the denominator, so 78,000 minus the X minus 18,000 will give you what's left as the numerator, and that'll give you your weighted average. So you just go through and multiply these all together. This comes out to 9.7x over 78,000. You make sure you keep your plus and minuses correct. This is 17.7 times the 78,000. This is 17.7 times the negative x, so that'll be negative, and this will be negative. And then you multiply these two together. So after this, it's just simple mathematics. Keep it going. So then you get 12. Then since everything here is over 78,000, if we multiply the top times 78,000 over here, and this whole thing by 78,000, it cancels out these 78,000s. So all these numbers just come down, and then I've added some together. And you multiply that times, that side times 78,000. So that gets this number equals minus 8x plus that number. Okay, you put the minus 8x, makes an 8x positive over there. Take this, bring it over here. X equals 21,375. Now what was X again? X was the amount of that 78,000 that'll be over 78,000 to give the weighted average. He wanted the weighted average. He said how much will be invested in X. So really, it is the 21,375 if you want the weighted average. I get 0.274. I don't know where you get 0.28 from. But this amount is how much you will invest. This is what the weighted average is. And he gives this as the answer, so the way it's written, it says how much is invested in StockX. To me, it would be that 21,375. Either way, that's how you do the problem. So just remember, it's all the same type of formula. And all you got to do is figure out how to do the weighted average. You know, if there's two of them, it's one's X times the percent and one's 1 minus X. In this case, we had three of them, so I put everything over 78,000 because this became X. You know, this is 18,000 and this would be 78,000 minus the X minus the 18,000. Okay, that's problem number 7 on page 80.